Have you ever felt invisible? Like you never mattered no matter how hard you tried? Like no matter how hard you tried, no matter how much you achieved, you would always come second to someone who barely lifted a finger? That was my life. Growing up, I had a brother, Ryan, who was treated like he was made of glass. My parents worshipped the ground he walked on. Me? I was just expected to take care of myself. At first, I thought it was normal. Maybe I was just imagining things. Maybe all families had a golden child and a responsible one. But as I got older, the patterns became impossible to ignore. Ryan got the latest gaming console. I got socks. Every single year. Ryan never lifted a finger. I scrubbed floors, did the dishes, took care of everything. Why did I have to study until midnight for straight A's, while Ryan barely passed and still got a, "We're so proud of you, sweetheart"? And every time I asked why, I got the same answer. Because Ryan needs more than you. That was my parents' mantra. Their golden rule. Ryan got more because Ryan deserved more. I spent years trying to prove myself. If I worked harder, if I was better, maybe one day they'd notice me the way they noticed him. Maybe one day I'd finally be enough. But that day never came. So I stopped trying. I packed my bags, left home, and built a life for myself. I got a degree, a great job, and for the first time I was in control. No more chores that weren't mine. No more impossible expectations. No more being treated like an afterthought. And for a while, it was bliss. Until the phone calls started. At first I let myself believe they missed me, that they actually cared. But then, little by little, every conversation found its way back to Ryan. How hard things had been for him. How unfair life was. How he just needed a little help to get back on his feet. And then, the real reason for their calls hit me like a freight train. "Sweetie, you know you're doing so well now. Don't you think you could help your brother out a little?" I refused. And that's when all hell broke loose. The moment I said no, my mother's tone shifted. The fake sweetness disappeared, replaced by something sharper. "Sweetheart, I just don't understand. You're doing so well. You have everything. Would it really hurt to share?" I expected that. What I didn't expect was how quickly things escalated. The next day, my dad called. He never called unless something was seriously wrong. My stomach tightened when I saw his name pop up. I hesitated, but I answered. The first words out of his mouth? "Listen, you need to step up and help your brother. That's what family does." No greeting, no small talk, just an order. I told him the same thing I told my mom. I worked hard to get where I am. If Ryan wants money, he can work for it like I did. Silence. Then a heavy sigh. "You've always been selfish, haven't you? You finally have a little money and suddenly you forget who raised you. You don't turn your back just because you got a little money." A little money? I'd spent years scraping by, working multiple jobs just to pay for school because my parents couldn't afford to help me. Meanwhile, Ryan had never lifted a finger, yet somehow there was always money for him. New clothes, new electronics, a car. My parents never told him no. And now, they expected me to do the same. But honestly, I should have seen it coming. It had always been this way. When we were kids, if we both wanted ice cream, my parents would buy it for Ryan and tell me, "You're older. You can wait." If there was one extra ticket to a theme park, guess who got it? If Ryan didn't want to do his homework, my mom would just say, "He's tired, sweetheart. Why don't you help him out?" Meanwhile, if I so much as asked for help with my own work, I get a lecture about being responsible. I remember one Christmas when I was 12. I had begged for a bicycle. I talked about it for months, dreamed about it. Christmas morning came and I ran to the tree, only to find that Ryan had a brand new gaming console and a pile of gifts. I got a sweater. My parents brushed it off. Ryan's younger. He still believes in Santa. We had to make it special for him. That was the first time I truly realized that in their eyes, I would always come second. And now, nothing had changed. The calls kept coming. And my mom again, and then my dad. Then my mom and my dad together. Each time they got angrier. "You're being cruel," my mom sniffled. "Your brother has always struggled." "If you don't help, don't bother coming home," my dad threatened. They even got Ryan to call me. That was the final straw. Yo, so mom and dad said you're being selfish. Seriously? You're just gonna let me struggle? I gripped the phone tighter. "Messed up?" I repeated. Ryan, do you even have a job? He scoffed. You wouldn't last a day in my shoes. You had everything handed to you. Lucky. That was it. That was the moment I realized there was no saving this. My parents weren't just asking me to help. They were expecting it, demanding it. And it wasn't just a small favor. It started with, can you help him with rent? Then, his car broke down, you can cover that, right? Next, Ryan wants to go on a trip with his friends. You wouldn't want him to miss out, would you? It was endless. No matter what I gave, they would always want more. The worst part? Ryan had no intention of helping himself. He had never held down a real job. When he was younger, my parents used to make excuses for him. He's just a kid. Let him enjoy his childhood. When he turned 18, it became, he's still figuring things out. Don't pressure him. At 21, it was, the job market is tough. Give him some time. And now, in his mid-20s, Ryan spent his days sleeping in, playing video games, and scrolling through his phone while my parents covered all his expenses. He had tried working a couple of times. A retail job when he was 19, but he quit after 2 weeks because the manager was mean. A short gig at a call center, but he stopped showing up because it was boring. My mom excused it every time. He just hasn't found the right fit yet. My dad shrugged it off. Not everyone is made for the grind. And now, somehow, I was supposed to take on their responsibility. I was done, but that didn't stop them. If anything, my refusal made them more relentless. My mom started guilt-tripping me daily. Ryan doesn't have anyone else, she would whine. We're his family. Do you really want him to suffer? Suffer? Ryan had never worked a day in his life. I remembered all the times I came home from my shift at a fast food restaurant in high school, exhausted, my feet aching, only to see him lounging on the couch, surrounded by takeout boxes, playing video games on a brand new console my parents bought for him. And now, they wanted me to fund that same lifestyle. Then came the breaking point. A few weeks after I had stopped responding to their calls, I woke up to dozens of missed messages. At first I panicked. What if something had happened? What if there was an emergency? But then I read the texts. How could you do this to your family? Your brother is going to be homeless because of you. You are heartless. And then, the worst one. A screenshot of a $5,000 money transfer request from my bank account. I froze. My stomach dropped. I clicked on the notification, my hands shaking. It was a direct request from Ryan. The note attached? Since you're being difficult, I figured I'd just take care of it myself. You weren't going to use that money anyway. What's the big deal? I felt sick. He had actually tried to take my money without even asking. I lost it. I called him immediately. The second he answered, I didn't hold back. What the hell's wrong with you? I snapped. You seriously thought you could just take my money like that? Ryan groaned. Jesus, it's not a big deal. You have way more than that. You wouldn't even notice if it was gone. That was it. That was the moment I knew I could never look at him the same way again. I blocked his number. Then I called my bank, added every security measure possible, and changed all my passwords. Then I sent one final message to my parents. Ryan is not my responsibility. You made him this way. Don't ever contact me again. I changed my locks. I cut them out of my life completely. I told myself I was finally free, but I underestimated just how far they would go. After I blocked Ryan and sent my final message to my parents, I expected silence. Maybe a few more guilt-tripping texts, maybe some last-ditch effort to make me cave. But what I didn't expect was for them to escalate even further. It started with the emails. Long, rambling messages from my mom about how I was tearing the family apart, and how Ryan was struggling so much. Then my dad chimed in with a more direct approach, accusing me of being an ungrateful brat who had forgotten where she came from. I ignored them. But then I started getting messages from extended family members, aunts, uncles, even distant cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. They flooded my inbox, my social media, and even called from numbers I didn't recognize. How could you be so heartless to your own brother? Your parents did everything for you, and this is how you repay them. It's just money. Family's more important. Clearly, my parents had launched a full-scale campaign to turn everyone against me. They had painted me as the cruel, rich daughter who refused to help her poor, struggling little brother. No one seemed to care that Ryan had never worked a day in his life. No one mentioned that he had literally tried to steal from me. I ignored them all. And then, just when I thought it was over, the real nightmare began. One evening I came home after a long day at work, exhausted and ready to unwind. As I pulled into my driveway, my headlights illuminated something, or rather someone, sitting on my porch. Ryan. I slammed on the brakes, my heart pounding. He was slouched against the door, legs stretched out, scrolling through his phone as if he had all the time in the world. My stomach twisted with a mix of anger and dread. I sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, trying to process what I was seeing. I took a slow breath before stepping out of the car, keeping my keys clenched in my fist. "What are you doing here, Ryan?" My voice was sharp, controlled, but I could feel the anger simmering beneath the surface. He didn't even look up, just let out a lazy yawn and shoved his phone in his pocket. "Mom and Dad said you weren't answering. Figured I'd come talk in person." I walked closer but stopped a few feet away, watching him carefully. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair a mess, and his expression screamed annoyance rather than desperation. There was no sign of someone who had hit rock bottom, no sign of someone who had tried and failed. Just entitlement. "You mean after you tried to steal from me?" I crossed my arms, waiting for some form of acknowledgement. He finally lifted his head and gave me an exaggerated eye roll. "Oh my God, you're still on that. It wasn't even a big deal. You have plenty of money. I just needed some help." I felt something snap inside me. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "You didn't ask for help, Ryan. You tried to take my money, without my permission." He scoffed, shifting his weight against the door. "Whatever. Look, I'm just here because I need a place to stay for a while. Mom and Dad are freaking out, and they said you'd come around eventually. So let's just stop this whole drama and let me in, all right?" I blinked. Was he serious? Did he actually believe he could just show up unannounced, demand a place to stay, and I would just accept it? My voice came out colder than I expected. "Are you serious? You want me to let you stay here after everything?" Ryan shrugged like it was the most reasonable request in the world. "You have an extra bedroom." I let out a sharp laugh, shaking my head. "Number, you don't get to waltz into my life whenever you need something. You don't get to sit around doing nothing while expecting me to fund your lifestyle. And you sure as hell don't get to steal from me and then act like it's no big deal." His face darkened. "You're such a selfish bitch, you know that?" I felt my blood pressure spike, but instead of reacting, I took a step forward, standing my ground. Selfish? That's rich, coming from someone who has spent his entire life leeching off others, who has never worked for a damn thing, who thinks the world owes him something just because our parents spoiled him rotten. He scoffed. "Whatever. You're acting all high and mighty now, but when you need something, don't come crying to me." I smirked. "I've never needed anything from you, Ryan. That's the difference between us." He clenched his jaw. I could see the frustration bubbling beneath the surface. For the first time, he realized I wasn't going to cave. No amount of guilt-tripping, insults, or manipulation would work on me anymore. But then, he did something I didn't expect. Ryan smirked. Slowly, he reached into his pocket and pulled something out. A key. My key. My stomach dropped. I knew that key. It was mine. But how... My stomach dropped. I had changed my locks months ago, but before that, I had given my parents a key for emergencies. And now, Ryan was holding it up, twirling it between his fingers like it was a joke. "You really thought you could lock me out?" His voice was smug. A cold wave of fear shot through me. My heart pounded in my chest as I took another step back, my mind racing. How long had he had this key? Had he ever been inside while I was gone? Had he ever taken anything? I forced my expression to stay neutral. "Ryan, give me the damn key." He smirked. He twirled it between his fingers, smirking. "What's the magic word?" I didn't hesitate. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone, unlocking it with one swift motion. "I'm calling the cops." His smirk faltered. "Jesus, you're so dramatic. It's just a key." I pressed the call button. "Then you won't mind waiting here until the police arrive." Ryan cursed under his breath, tossing the key onto the porch with a clink. "You're insane," he spat, backing away. "This is why nobody likes you." I didn't say a word. I just watched as he stormed off, muttering to himself. By the time the cops arrived, he was gone. But that night was the final straw. I filed a restraining order the next morning. I changed all my security settings. I made sure my parents and Ryan could never contact me again. And for the first time in my life, I was truly free. 2 weeks after filing the restraining order, I got a letter from my mother. Handwritten. drenched in nostalgia and guilt. The paper smelled like her perfume, the same floral scent that used to linger on my clothes when she hugged me as a child. Sweetheart, do you remember when we baked cookies together? You were always such a responsible girl. We were always so proud of you. Then came the real message. Family is about forgiveness. Ryan is still your brother. Blood is thicker than water. One day when we're gone, you'll regret not having him in your life. I traced my fingers over the ink, feeling the weight of years of conditioning pressing down on me. My mother had mastered this, turning love into a leash, wrapping her manipulation in warmth and familiarity. I almost laughed. Even now, after everything, she thought I would break. I let out a slow breath, then watched as the paper curled into ash in my sink. For so long, I had been the responsible one, the strong one, the one who could take care of herself so she never needed help. And because I never needed help, I was expected to carry the weight of everyone else. I was their safety net, Ryan's fallback plan, their endless supply of support, even when I'd never been given the same. Ryan wasn't the only one who had been conditioned to take. My whole life I had been conditioned to give, to sacrifice, to put everyone else first. And for what? To be seen as a good daughter, a good sister, to prove that I was worthy of love. But love that comes with conditions is not love. It's control. And control masked as obligation is the heaviest chain of all. I had spent years being told that family is everything. That family comes first no matter what. That turning my back on them made me selfish, ungrateful, cruel. But what no one tells you is that family is a choice. And when they demand your sacrifice but offer no respect, it's not family anymore. It's just a prison with shared DNA. Walking away wasn't easy. It hurt. Some nights, I still questioned if I had done the right thing. But then I remembered the exhaustion, the guilt, the weight of being responsible for everyone but myself. And I knew I had saved myself from a life of being used. I don't know if Ryan ever changed. I don't know if my parents ever realized what they did. And I don't need to, because I'm no longer living for their approval. Some people say blood is thicker than water, but they forget the full saying. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. Family isn't about blood. It's about respect, and I'd rather stand alone than let them drag me down ever again. Logically, blood means nothing without respect, and I refuse to be their sacrifice.